Hi and welcome back. In the previous video, I gave you a little history of me and why I'm here talking with you. And I also talk with you about why it is so hard to make Waldorf homeschooling work for you, especially when you're just brand new and coming to it, and why it can be so frustrating and seem so overwhelming. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that video, go back and watch that one so you're caught up with where we are. All right, in this training, we're going to be talking about the number 3 mistake of why it is so overwhelming and why it can keep you feeling like this is way too complicated, it's taking way too much time, and I just don't know if I can do it. Because again, that's the last thing we want. This is such an amazing form of education and will give your child the foundation they need to become this well-rounded, balanced, and model of a human being, and really nourishes them body, mind, and spirit. So I want to do everything I can to make this work for you. So let's go over the number 3 mistake. And if you see me glancing down at my notes, I just want to make sure I don't leave anything out as I'm going through the mistake for you. So the number 3 mistake is the lone wolf syndrome. So, okay, what is that? That is you just trying to figure this all out by yourself with no support. And it can be really tough. So why is that important? Well, I mean, let's just look at it from another perspective. If you were going to start a brand new career, a brand new job, most likely even a teacher, if you were a brand new teacher in a classroom, they wouldn't just throw you into the classroom and say, okay, go ahead now, it's time to teach the first graders. Or they wouldn't just put you on the job and say, okay, here's your desk, here's your computer, whatever, have at it. Hopefully you're getting some kind of training, some kind of guidance before learning, the skills or whatever you need, as well as like on-the-job training. Because once you get started, it doesn't always go as you learned it. There's mistakes that you make, and there's hopefully somebody there to kind of correct you along the way so that you can say, okay, this would be an easier way to do that. One of the other reasons is that you don't know what you don't know. When you're just getting started, you've got some resources in front of you, or perhaps you've looked at some blogs, you've read a couple things over here, maybe you found a book at the library, you've talked to a friend who's doing it or has done it, and you're just getting bits and pieces, and you may not know everything that you need to know to make the experience pure Waldorf magic, what I call. Because there's a lot of theory and philosophy behind the scenes of Waldorf, why we do what we do and why this is done at this certain time and why we do this over here. There are a lot of things. And if you're just sort of following something kind of willy-nilly and without any type of guidance, then you may be just bringing the surface to your child without getting the benefits of all that Waldorf magic behind it, because there is so much. So you may not know what you don't know. You don't know what to ask. You don't know what to look for because you don't even know that you don't know it. Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing about doing things by yourself is it's lonely and you can feel really isolated, and you could feel like you're the only one out here doing it. And even if you're with a group of homeschoolers like I had in my area, we had a homeschool co-op here. None of them are actually using Waldorf education. So I am sort of like over here when it comes to homeschooling, and there's no real camaraderie, and I've got no one to kind of talk to and say, hey, did you try this? And what about that? And just having a friend, just having someone else who understands what you're doing, what you're going through, and what you need can be very, very valuable. I've got a friend who comes into town several times a year, and when I get her here with me in the same city, I love to talk Waldorf, and we compare notes and what's going on, and it's amazing to have that. Just so that you've got someone as a sounding board and to share experiences with. And one of the main reasons for avoiding the lone wolf syndrome is to get tips, shortcuts, and more information from someone who's a little bit farther down the line than you. Or maybe a book or a resource or training or just a blog post that someone else has read that will totally be just the thing that you need. But again, if you're kind of out there struggling, trying to do it alone, it's just a lot more work. If you can sort of stand on the shoulders of those who've come before, if you will, that they will be able to direct you and say, hey, you know what, don't bother buying that book over there. It's not worth it. I only used it for, this one thing and I never used it again, versus, hey, this one here I've used for the past 5 years, and you get a lot of bang for the buck. So they can direct you in ways that will save you money and save you time, because you're not just running around grabbing things, when you're not even sure what you're doing. Okay, so now that you know what lone wolf syndrome is, and hopefully why it's important to avoid it, I want to give you some tips and ideas of how you can not do it and how you can get some support. First is to find a homeschooling buddy. As I was saying, if there's someone in your community, a friend, a like-minded family, another mom, hopefully somebody doing Waldorf, who you can join up with, who can be your friend and your confidant as you go through, it can make all the difference for you. So you may not know anyone, but start reaching out. Go to your local homeschool co-op and see if anybody is doing Waldorf. See if there are any Waldorf schools in the area. If there are, there's probably some play groups, some other families. There may be a morning garden nearby if you've got younger children, that you can kind of reach out to, put the word out. You can also, reach out at libraries, like an organic food market. A lot of times they have a bulletin board. You can put a little notice looking for Waldorf-inspired families for, play dates or something, so that you can get in touch and leave your number. Just spread the word. There may be friends of friends of friends who know someone, and get the word out there if you don't know anyone, and see if there is anybody out there who can become your Waldorf buddy. The next thing is to join a co-op. If you're lucky enough to have a Waldorf co-op or Waldorf-inspired co-op in your area, then that's wonderful, because co-ops are great because there's consistent meeting times. Usually it's every week at a church or a hall or some kind of, or maybe even people's homes, but there's some kind of consistent meeting time, and you know that you can plan every Friday afternoon to go to the co-op. You'll also have classes there. Usually you've got different parents or teachers teaching some of the classes, so it's a great way for you to get some training and support. You can learn what's going on and how you can take that back into your home. You'll be able to talk to all kinds of moms and other families and see what they're doing. So having a co-op, or perhaps even starting a co-op if there isn't one, maybe you've got a group of 5 to 6 families, and it would be a great thing to start a co-op, or even just a monthly group that meets for festivals or handwork or storytelling, puppet shows, whatever it is, that you can kind of get together on a consistent basis and have that support and get that training and get some other ideas, rather than you having to do it all yourself. Okay, another option is an online group. If you've exhausted all measures in your local area and there just isn't anyone, or if you're just looking for some additional support, an online group may be something for you. And there are some really great groups going online. Check out the Yahoo groups. There's been groups that have been going for 10 years on there. And I learned a lot when I got started from some of the Yahoo groups, because there are just people just like you asking questions. You can browse through the questions. A lot of them have files that have lots of training and stories and options and resources right there in the file. So check out the Yahoo groups. There are also Facebook groups now, blogs, and other places that you can join as an online community to talk back and forth. And there's more and more coming online these days as we go. So the options are getting more and more out there. Just be careful not to join too many groups, because then it can be a lot of time you perusing online, messaging back and forth. Try to keep it under control, as if you are doing Waldorf, limiting media is one of the things that we try to balance out. So an online group may be something for you, especially in the early days when you're getting started. a place to find some great resources and to chat with other moms just like you. And the last thing is to get some training, some real training. It's great to talk to friends and it's great to have that going on, but you may be one that needs a little structure. Again, as I said, as if we were starting a new job or a new role as teacher, which you are. You are taking on the responsibility of educating your child. Whether it's for 1 year or it's all the way through high school, everyone's looking to you as being the one who knows what they're doing, and your child needs to know that you are understanding what you're teaching. So you want to be able to have a good foundation of knowledge so that you're not feeling overwhelmed and I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, because that will totally come through to your child. And if there is this tension and stress coming from you, for you just trying to figure it out, it could cause an atmosphere in your home that is not as peaceful as you'd like it. A child can feel and sense when you're not quite sure, and it may turn them off to homeschooling and think, gosh, I don't really like homeschooling. It's making, they're not thinking this consciously, but unconsciously, they may be thinking that, mom's not enjoying it. And really homeschooling can be such a joy and such fun. If you get this basic training down so that you understand what you're doing, and then you can use all of your energy to do the fun stuff that I call the storytelling and the painting and the sculpting and the fun crafts and the music and all of those things that look so great when you look at blogs and read books and stories and hear what other people are doing. You want to concentrate your effort on those things, because that is what is so, that's what your child is going to experience. What they don't need to experience is you just sitting there trying to figure it all on your own, being very stressed out and hoping that you're going to make this work by just, kind of winging it. All right, so I hope by now you've discovered that lone wolf syndrome is not the way to go when you are homeschooling with Waldorf. So that is our number 3 mistake. Catch me on the next training for number 2. All right, until then, bye-bye.